Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see, it's a little snowier than what it was the last time I made a video. Just out walking the dogs. Um, yeah, it's a little snowier, a little colder, so I won't be out riding at all, of course, and also not in the garage doing anything. But I figured a good topic for me today would be actually what I've learned in my first year of riding motorcycles. It's my 1 year. Depends on how you look at it. Here in Ontario, it's a graduated licensing, so it depends on how you look at it. Whether I've passed my 1 year of having my license, or I'm coming up to my 1 year having my license. But anyways, I figured I'd go over maybe 5 topics or 5 things I've learned my first year riding a motorcycle. But to do that, I'm going to go to somewhere a little more warmer and a little bit more cozier. So let's go there. So there, that's a little warmer. Like I was saying, top 5 things that I've learned first year of driving a motorcycle. Again, this isn't in any particular order, but just things I've noticed. So the first thing, oh, and by the way, we're down in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. Changed my drink, not having a margarita anymore, I'm back onto the beer. Anyways, so the first thing that I've noticed about riding a motorcycle is everyone has an opinion. Everyone I've talked to, people who've never even ridden a motorcycle, to people that have been riding for years and years, they all have their advice for you. They all have what you should watch for. What I've found is it's almost like people giving you parenting advice. Just say thank you and go about doing what you were going to do. I mean, some of the advice is good, some of it's not. Some of my neighbors who've never used a motorcycle before told me, don't use your front brakes because you're going to flip it, right? So as everyone who's ridden a motorcycle knows, most of your braking power comes from your front brakes. So again, some of it's bad information, some of it's good information. You'll see online a lot of good information. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I haven't taken all of that information, all of that advice, and applied it to myself, hence why I'm driving a 700-pound motorcycle as my first motorcycle. So yes, first thing, everyone has advice. Kind of pick and choose. There is a lot of good advice out there, but a lot of it is not very good. So if it sounds like maybe don't take it, but yeah, do what you're gonna do. Just be cautious. You'll be fine. So number 2 on the list I have is motorcycle riders. For the most part, they're great people. I haven't run into too many people that I wouldn't ride with. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rules. I've been driving on major highways, and you have that one guy who, you know, you're doing 100 kilometers an hour, 110, 120, and there's a guy that just comes flying by you. You don't even know he's there until he's past you, and then you hear him because he's doing like 200 kilometers an hour. And so we all know those guys. I find there's a lot more good guys than bad guys. For the most part, people just want to talk to you about your bike. So yeah, number 2 is there's a lot of great people. Everyone just wants to talk. There's lots in common because you're just outside enjoying the ride. So yeah, lots of great people riding motorcycles. So the third thing, which kind of goes back to the number 1, is you can kind of chart your own path in this. I know in some countries they have the graduated licensing. Like here in Ontario, we have graduated licensing, but it's not quite. I know like the UK, your first license, you're only good for the number of CCs up to, I don't know, 500 or something like that before you can go to a bigger bike. So in that case, obviously you're limited, but in North America, chart your own path. You always see start on a small bike, learn how to ride. That is good advice, and most people should do it, but what I found, I'm over 40 years old. I wasn't going to go start on one of these small bikes. I'm also a bigger guy. I'm only about 5'10", but I'm, let's call it hefty. So I'm over 200 pounds, so I wasn't going to go and use one of these smaller bikes. I wanted one that would fit me now, and I would grow into it, or not necessarily grow into it, but my skill would grow into it. I'm still not a great rider. I still know my limitations, and I work within it. So that's the third thing I've noticed is you can chart your own path. You don't have to start on a small bike, work up to start at a 400, go to a 600, and then go up from there. You can start on a 600. It'll be a little bit more of a learning curve. You got to be cautious. Know your limits. If you're not necessarily mechanically inclined, but if you're someone that takes to learning new things quicker, you could start on a bigger bike than what some other people do. So like for me, instance, I've never ridden a motorcycle, but when I was younger, I used to do snowmobiling. I used to, do other things like ATVing. Like it all came naturally to me. Not that motorcycling came naturally to me because I was, I had it always in my head that I'm going to drop my bike, So that's not necessarily a good thing to have in your head, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to have in your head. So I knew going into this that it was going to be a big learning curve. Like the guy who dropped it off the motorcycle the first time, I had him driving into my garage because I didn't know how to use it. So I watched a lot of videos, and then went from there. Started just going around my block, and the fact that I couldn't get my license for so long was actually probably a blessing because I started off just taking it around the block. Then I graduated to venturing out, not out of the subdivision, but further down the road. I kept going a little bit further, and everywhere in my subdivision is 40 to 50 kilometers an hour. So I had to keep the bike down there. So it actually helped me become a better rider and learn the motorcycle better. So yeah, that's the third thing is you can chart your own path. You don't have to start on the little bikes and work your way up. So the fourth thing that I've learned is motorcycling is expensive. It sounds cheap, and actually I should say you could probably do it pretty cheaply. Me, obviously, driving a Harley, it's not going to be cheap, but you can do it cheap, getting a cheap bike and cheap insurance and whatnot. But if you're one if you go my path, where I bought the bike, it's an 1750 cc. They don't look at you as a mature rider. They look at you as a newbie, 16, 17-year-old kid, so your insurance is going to be astronomical. My first year insurance for the Harley, for me at 41, 42 years old, was $1,900, which is just ridiculous. That's for the year. I know in the States you have a lot easier. Ontario has pretty high premiums, I know that. Again, not knowing, I should have gone, I could have got cheaper insurance getting a smaller bike, but again, I wasn't going to do that because I would have been trading up soon after. So yeah, the insurance is expensive. Motorcycles can be expensive. You can't get them cheap, but even now, I know because of the economics right now, a lot of used bikes, but any bike that's relatively for a couple $1,000s, like $2,000-$3,000 that I see on Kijiji or Auto Trader in my area, they're all like mid 80s, early 80s Honda Goldwings. I wasn't going to go that route for my first bike, so it's pretty expensive. So if you looking at a half decent bike, you're spending a few $1,000s. So that's expensive. Insurance, like I said, is pretty expensive. I think once you're a mature rider, you have your full license, and you've been doing it for a few years, and no accidents, knock on wood, insurance will come down, and then that's not an issue. The other stuff is gear. So yeah, you buy your bike, but then you want to get proper gear. Like you see a lot of my earlier videos where I bought a helmet off of Wish, I bought motorcycle gloves off Wish, I bought a motorcycle jacket off Wish. So that was cheap stuff, but it was cheap stuff. So I don't use the helmet anymore. I don't use the motorcycle jacket anymore. I do use the gloves because they work, and I have commitment issues, and I can't decide on what type of gloves I want to go with next. So I use the gloves. Those are the only things I actually use from there. So you buy boots, you buy with jeans. I just wear jeans. I don't wear motorcycle pants. But motorcycle jacket, a good helmet, gloves. You're getting into close to $1,000 if you're buying good quality stuff. So that's another added expense, but that makes it expensive. And then one of the ones that I find that is really expensive is, which people don't tell you, and maybe it's a Harley thing, but I don't think it is. But accessorizing your bike. My bike that I bought, I absolutely love it. I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it come up on the listing of our dealership, and that was the bike I wanted. I loved everything about it until I got it, and then I want to change that, and then I want to change that, and then I want to change that. So I haven't changed a lot of things on there, but you change the air cleaner on it. You change I got a tuner for it. I changed a couple of the accessories, got a backrest for my wife. All costs a lot of money. Like right now I've probably spent about $1,500 just accessorizing it with the air cleaner, not accessorizing, but some of the accessories, air cleaner, tuner, stuff like that, probably about $1,500. And now there's another probably $2,000 I want to put into it because I want to get a new seat so my wife is more comfortable. I want to get new suspension so my wife is more comfortable. All of that costs a lot of money. So, and I don't think it's just Harley. I don't care what you say. Is if you buy the bike that you want to buy, and it's the one you want, and you have your heart set on it, as soon as you get it, there's going to be little things you're going to want to change on it, and it costs money. So that was another added expense I didn't realize. So again, that's another added expense. So to me, motorcycling is expensive, and I'm talking about. So being expensive, it's expensive for someone who is using it as leisure, right? So if you're commuting with it, you don't need all the other stuff that I'm doing to my bike. But for the most part, most of the people that do it is because of leisure. It's expensive. And the fifth one, the fifth thing is how actually fun and exciting it actually is, and a lot of different things that you do. So the number one thing that I've learned is riding a motorcycle is actually funner than I thought it was going to be, and I actually get addicted to it. I want to go on it. That's why I have videos of me going in minus 18-degree weather, because I miss it. I want to be out there. I want to go out there. I'm willing to freeze my fingertips. It took me like 3 days for my fingertips to get the feeling back, and that was with heated hand grips. So yeah, it does get addicting, and it's a fantastic activity, sport, whatever. I don't think I'll ever race, but I do have a guy that wants to take me to the drag strip, so we'll see. I don't know. But anyways, it is fantastic. It's a fun thing to do. So yeah, those are my 5 top things that I've learned for motorcycling over the first year of riding. Let me know what you guys think. What did you learn the first year that you were riding a motorcycle? I'd be interested to hear if they're different than mine or if they're similar. I mean, there's other things too that I know I've learned about motorcycling that I didn't know before as well, but to me those were the top 5 things that just came to my head. I've even asked my wife now for her to come up with her list. I'm not telling her mine, so I want to see what she comes up with. So that'll be another video as well. Anyways, thanks for watching.